Why is this person driving backwards? This is a Mario Kart Wii clan war. Yes, you heard that correctly, a clan war. Basically, it's just two teams that play against each other, and whatever team scores the most points after 12 races wins. We call the teams clans in the Mario Kart community, and I don't know where the term war came from. It is a bit dramatic, but sometimes in competitive Mario Kart, things do get that intense.
Play all day and still lose 2-0.
Go, dude!
Let me pull up the sleeve! I failed it.
So if the name of the game is to score the most points possible, why would someone intentionally drive backwards, securing a bottom spot that gives little to 0 points? Well, the answer is simple. They're trying to get the shock. The shock has a 20% chance to be pulled in 10th and only a 7.5% chance to be pulled in 9th. There can only ever be one shock in play, and the shock cannot be pulled until 30 seconds has passed since the beginning of the race or since the last shock was used. The reason each team has someone go backwards and intentionally throw the race is because the shock is that powerful and important. The most common way to use a shock is to shock all your opponents while simultaneously dodging your teammates either in Mega, Stars, or Bills. In this clip, Frozen dodges in a star and he goes all the way from 7th place up to 2nd. The other team loses their items from the shock, so they really have no way of interfering with him barreling up to the front. Same thing in this next POV of the player Fox. He dodges in a Mega and shocks his opponents after the last item set, so he gets to freely pass them right before the line. The other way to dodge a shock without using an item is with a cannon. There are a couple cannon tracks in the game, and you can dodge the shock at any point as long as you're inside the cannon, no matter what position you're in. In this clip, XI dodges their 2, 3, 4 positions in the cannon while not dodging any of the other team, and this way they're all able to creep up onto first place and apply some pressure. You don't always need to dodge the shock in order for it to be effective. On this Dry Ruins race, XI shocks the 2nd place Crash into the sand, slowing him down, while simultaneously shocking Fox into the blue zipper boost. That way he's able to just pass Crash straight up. Here's another way to use shock a little bit more strategically. So this is a pretty common play to trap the shortcut with either a banana or a fib in order to prevent the other team from taking it. However, in this clip, Ethereal shocks XI before they can block the shortcut, leaving it open. I'm assuming they probably dodged 1 or 2 people as well, but as you can see, Crash and Kevin are able to just take the shortcut because it is open. Hopefully now you can see why the shock is so powerful. It's a very versatile item used for many situations, and ultimately, even if your team is getting destroyed the entire race, as long as you can pull shock and 1 or 2 dodges, you have a good chance at getting a winning race. So it should make sense now as to why each team sends a player backwards, and the player they send back is called the bagger. Because at first on paper it would seem like when you have 5 people going forwards trying to score, that would be better than only having 4 people going forwards trying to score, and 1 person going backwards getting an automatic 0 points every race. But when you think about it, even though the bagger is getting 0 points, he's helping the other 4 runners in a way that having a 5th runner could not do, and he helps them dramatically. A 5th runner can never simultaneously hit all your opponents while dodging your teammates. Only the shot can do that, unless that 5th runner, because there are 9 people going forwards, stays in 9th all race to try to get the shock, but then what's even the point of him going forwards at all? There's no reason to deliberately give your opponent a better chance at pulling the most influential item in the game. Now we get to the problem of bagging. Do you notice my word choice in that last sentence? There's no reason to deliberately give your opponent a better chance at pulling the most influential item. See, you still have the 7.5 chance of pulling shock in 9th, so there is a bit of luck involved. But on average, the better bagger that gets into 10th will pull more shocks. The 9th place chance evens the playing field a bit. However, pulling shock is not the only luck-based thing involved with bagging, because now we have to talk about the bullet bill. The bullet bill is the bane of every bagger's existence. Why is it bad? Well, for one, when you use a bill, it sends you forwards in the designated bill line. So the baggers can't use it, or else the other bagger gets a free break in 10th. So instead of using it, they gotta lose it. And this is done by either falling off the track or hitting a hazard like Chain Chomp or a Thwomp. The second reason it's bad is because, like the shock, there can only ever be 1 bill in play. So when the bill is in play, all other item probabilities for 10th and 9th place go up, including the shock. So if you're a bagger and you pull the bullet bill, you have to fall off the track and lose the bill, And during that entire time you have the bill, the other bagger not only has a better probability of pulling shock, but they also can't pull bill because you have it. So even if they don't pull shock, they have a guaranteed golden star or triple shrooms, allowing them to get further into 10th. You have a 35% chance of pulling bill in 10, and a 22.5% chance of pulling bill in 9th. So that's what I mean when I say there's another factor of luck involved, being the bad luck of pulling the bullet bill. And going back to that 30-second rule, this is why a lot of baggers usually don't touch boxes before 30 seconds, because they have all the risk of pulling the bill without the reward of pulling a shock. But getting the shock is actually not the only way the bagger can help their runners. Another way the baggers can help is by dropping a star. Here's the basics of dropping a star. Bagger pulls a star, hits some hazard like Zapper on Koopa Cape or Chain Chomp or a Thwomp. The bagger says, hey, I dropped a star here. Runner picks it up and gets a free star. This is most commonly done on Koopa Cape, or KC for short. KC is a track where you can't fully drive backwards. There's no way to make it up this waterfall. So both baggers sit at the last set hitting the boxes, and conveniently there's a zapper just right here before the item set. So the runner can pick up the ground star and actually take the little waterfall shortcut here at the end, gaining them some time. Most drop stars are used to help the runners take shortcuts or just give them a temporary speed boost, but you can also use it to help dodge the opponent's shocks or maybe a blue shell. In this clip, Fox's bagger Jazz drops the star right on his head actually, and coincidentally the other team throws a blue shell, but because he's in a star in first, he's able to dodge it. So the bagger is there to help out his team, but he's actually not allowed to interfere with the other runners. If a bagger does something like hit the other team while in a star, that's a troll penalty, and there would be a point deduction. The severity of the troll determines how big the penalty is, but just know that baggers are not supposed to negatively interfere with the runners. But why would a bagger pick up a troll penalty in the first place? I mean, he can just look at the minimap or see physically the runners driving towards him. Can't he just drive slowly and stay far away from them? Well, yes, he could do that, but that leaves room for the other bagger to risk driving tight through the pack and barrel into 10th place. So bagging becomes a game of risk. Do you touch boxes before 30 seconds and risk pulling a bill? Do you drive recklessly through the pack of runners and risk picking up a troll penalty? The best baggers know when to take calculated risks and when to play it safe based on how badly their team needs the shock for that race. So what are the other qualities of the best baggers? Well, first of all, they need to know the bagging strats, which are basically backwards shortcuts for certain tracks. Some of the most important ones include on Retro Bowser's Castle, the backwards respawn and wall bounce strat, clearing this giant gap on Bowser's Castle Wii, which we call the Hawk strat, and the respawn on DK Summit where you have to get a trick at a certain angle in order to pass through the invisible wall and get into the fall boundary. The next thing that the best baggers must be good at are 1v1 scenarios with the other bagger. See, if a bagger gets shock, the other bagger can hit the shock out of them if they use a star on them or the bill. Another thing you can do is star the opponent when they don't even have shock, but it'll slow them down and give you a further break in 10th. This 1v1 battle also involves a ton of mind games. See, when someone pulls the shock, they can't pull any other items, so you won't see that bagger shrooming or using a star. Coincidentally, when a bagger pulls a bill, they also can't chain stars or shrooms and they can't use the bill. So if a bagger hits an item box and then doesn't use any items afterwards, you know just by looking at him that he either has the shock or the bill. If it's early on in the race, then of course that bagger will fall off with the bill, but sometimes they'll stay on the track and try to fake you out and act like they have the shock. The reason a bagger would do this goes back to the calculated risk I was talking about before. If their team would get a good race even without the shock, then they would prefer to keep things shockless. So the bagger might fake having the shock just to waste the other bagger's time. We already talked about dropping stars, and the last quality of a good bagger is that they need good comms. Bagger is still an extra set of eyes on the racetrack, so they might be able to see a nana or a trap on a corner, or that the other team is throwing a blue. It's good to provide some extra info that might help out the runners. And that's a brief overview of bagging in Mario Kart Wii. So now you know why people drive backwards. It's primarily to get the shock, but there's a lot more depth and detail that goes into it. If you want to learn more about the intricacies of this game, please subscribe, and thank you guys all for watching. Peace.